So I would like to present you guys with an idea, a very simple idea. This is a tangible representation of Don Quixote's mind. And at first glance, you're like, he's an idiot. He waited till last minute, maybe just as his class started, to finish this, which is partially true. But what you have here is when an idea manifests itself in the mind of an insomniac and a serial chivalrous, like fictitious tales just kind of mingle, and then you have the slow degradation of one's mental faculties, right? Yeah. So you have the pulling away of one's own real tangible thoughts and being replaced with just this crazy melancholy. So you take the inherent charm and romance of losing one's mind and of chivalry and stuff like that, and you combine it with the slight comedy that comes with just like kind of idiot and all of his misgivings in life, and you have Don Quixote's mind.
Okay, so I made 3 hearts to represent the 3 people in the love triangle from Tales of Chivalry, whatever. And this is Arthur, because he has a heart of gold. And and then at the bottom, I picked quotes. I picked 1 song lyric and 1 actual quote to represent like each person. And I'm really proud of this one. For Arthur, my quote is, "Show me a hero and I'll write you a tragedy," by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Yes, I'm really proud of that. And then my song lyric is, "Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you," the Elvis Presley version, because Merlin warns him against falling in love with Guinevere, but he's like, "Nah, fam, I'm gonna do it anyways." Okay. And then this one is Lancelot's, and it's dark blue to represent like his sadness and confusion. And my song quote is from a Taylor Swift song, and it's, it's untouchable, burning brighter than the sun, and now that you're close, I feel like coming undone, because he can't have Guinevere, but he wants her, and the whole reaction thing in the Steinbeck version of that tale really applies to that song. And then my book quote is, "The course of true love never did run smooth," from William Shakespeare, because Lancelot and Guinevere were sort of meant to be, but Guinevere being with Arthur was a big mess with that. And then this one, okay, so this is Guinevere's, and she's mainly blue with like patches of gold because she and Lancelot are cut from the same cloth, and you're gonna like that when it comes to my book quote from Wuthering Heights. It's, "Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same." I know, I love it. I'm so proud. And then my song quote is, "Torn between 2 lovers, feeling like a fool, loving both of you is breaking all the rules." I know, it's really sad, but those are the hearts, and then the tool around it is the white represents the innocence of the love triangle, because nobody went into it wanting to hurt the other person, so it was all really innocent starting off. And then the red covering it represents the passion that eventually overtook them and destroyed everyone in it.
Okay, so I made a helmet out of paper mache because it symbolizes Don Quixote's helmet, which is terrible and didn't work. So this is newspaper, and obviously this would not protect my head in battle or anything. But yeah, I worked pretty hard on this. It took me 3 tries to finally get it, because a dog ate my first one. I went home and I opened my door and it wasn't there, and I started freaking out. I was like, due the next day, I was like, and then made it too small the first one, which this is the first one. And so this obviously didn't cover my ears or have like a little visor like right here. So then I had to make a 3rd one, which this one's pretty flimsy.
You know what my favorite part of this whole true story is? Technically, you could say that the dog was the sword hitting the helmet the first time. And what happened? So he rebuilt it, and did the dog test it again? No. So you're like, perfect. That is awesome. Thank you very much.
Do I only have to say like 3 different songs? Like 3 different songs because I did a playlist.
Yes.
Yes.
Give you 3 best.
Okay. one of the first ones I did was Tainted Love by Soft Cell, to represent Queen Guinevere's decision to, not be with Lancelot anymore and to join the nunnery and stuff, because like their love was, tainted by Arthur's death or whatever. I really like this one, but I did I picked a song that I thought kind of represented Lancelot, like embodied him, and it was "You're the Best" from Karate Kid, because he was like the most skilled and most handsome knight. So, and then I ran so far away by Flock of Seagulls for when Guinevere like tricked Mordred and fortified herself in the tower and stuff. So.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So for our creative project, we did a modern reinterpretation, well, ultra-modern reinterpretation of Steinbeck's version of the Acts of King Arthur and his noble knights. And in the original story, there's a love triangle between King Arthur, Lancelot, and Guinevere. So we took those names, kind of made them a little bit shortened. So we have Ari, Lance, and Neve, except it's a love triangle between one guy, Ari, and two girls, Lance and Neve.
Okay.
It's set up like the original one. So Ari and Guinevere, or Neve, are the ones that are in a relationship, but Neve and Lance have something going on the side. And the reason we chose to do this is because, being avid readers ourselves, especially in white, like young adult literature, there is such a lack of diversity. Especially, it's always cisgender, heterosexual love triangles with two guys, one girl.
And white.
Yes.
Don't forget white.
So what we really were trying to do here is just break the norm of what you see in literature and just do something different.
Fantastic. How long is it?
6 pages.
6 pages each. Yeah.
She has her story from the point of Neve, and I have the exact same story from the point of Lance.
So not only did you write a creative story, you wrote it from two different perspectives. Is there a paragraph or particular section that you wouldn't mind?
Do you want to just read the first paragraphs?
Of which one?
Well, first paragraph of mine, first paragraph of yours.
Shows
Want to
two
do that?
perspectives.
Okay.
That'd be great.
You want to start?
Who wrote from which perspective?
I wrote from the point of view of Neve,
Okay.
And I wrote from Lance.
so both the girls.
Yeah. Lance could never get anywhere fast enough. She could never make her body move accordingly to her precise and harsh judgment. A move performed with wagging shoulder or knee, a pose held too stiff, a movement too jerky and careless. Not that the rest of the population ever saw that. Lance always corrected herself before others could even notice. Most of the time, people never even realized she was around them until she announced herself. Yet that was not what bothered her, that she was forced to publicize her presence constantly, but that Neve always almost knew that where she was before Lance could do so. When they had first met as rubbish of children, Lance had been walking aimlessly in the neighborhood when she spotted a head of full, messy curls and drifted to it. The other girl gave a quick start, but quickly asked Lance if she wanted to play. They never stopped.
His laugh spilled out, deep and sonorous, into the arid heat of the wasteland. The peals of laughter were sharp and pronounced and cut through the impossibly dense air. It was an unusual laugh. The sound was resonant, reflecting off every surface with a smooth ring, while still containing the natural husky, almost guttural tone of his voice. It filled all empty space and left no room for the competing din of dying cicadas or her slow, even breath. The powerful burst anchored Neve to the present, and she clung to the clarity.
Okay, so I drew a picture with my artisticness, and then, okay, so this image is when Don Quixote and Sancho came to the field of windmills, which Don Quixote thought was giants somehow in his crazy imaginary world, and then he charged down with full speed, and his lance got stuck like beside the windmill. And he went around and threw him, and he hit the ground pretty hard. And then he assured Sancho that the giant, quote unquote, turned back into a windmill. And that's it.
That's good. You ready, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so I drew a horse,
And basically, you guys looking at it, it's like this might be crazy, but Don Quixote had a different perspective of everything, and everything was a little bit different in his imagination. And I was like, I was gonna draw this in the way Don Quixote might have pictured this horse, you know, just.
What did you draw with though?
Oh, this is it's like a positive and negative picture. Like if you took a picture of a horse and then you turn the positive and negative on, the negative is going to be black and the positive is in different colors of pencils. And I only use 4-color pencils, so all these are like different mixtures. And
That black's not Sharpie, is it?
no, that's actually a pen.
Fine point pen.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
So it took a lot longer than it looks. But I have the paragraph explaining what's going on.
That's fine with me. Just turn both ends. I mean,
Alright.
that is an excellent job. It took time.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys. The noble steed.
Mine was kind of funny. I wasn't like trying to be serious on mine. So probably my favorite ones were, I picked "What's My Name" by Rihanna for when he was naming himself. I picked Disco Inferno by the Tramps when his family was burning his books, which if y'all don't know, in that song it says "Burn, baby, burn." So that's kind of what his family was feeling like when they were burning all of his books. And my last one, I picked "Stronger" by Kelly Clarkson when after he got like beat up by the merchants and all that, he kind of like got up and like in the song it says, "What doesn't kill you make you stronger," and I feel like that's kind of what he felt like after they beat him up. So that was all my favorites.
Tell me one more.
I picked "I've Got the Power" by Snap when he was charging at the windmills. Because I mean, in his mind, he thought he was gonna like obliterate them, but they were windmills.
Thank you, Sharon.
Okay, so I took the love triangle and compared it to one of my favorite genres of books, and that's Twilight. And so I did Lancelot as Taylor Lautner because he's handsome, and so is so is Lancelot. I did King Arthur as Robert Pattinson because he's weird, and so is King Arthur. And then as Guinevere, I did Kristen Stewart. And I just chose this because, you know, a lot of us don't compare to a lot of books, such as King Arthur's literature, so I just did it to our society's
Well,
likes. So.
is there any more comparisons you can draw from the Twilight love triangle to what you read from
They're the same because King Arthur is married to Guinevere, and in Twilight, Kirsten Stewart is married to Robert Pattinson, and Lancelot likes Kirsten Stewart, so it's the same comparison there. And Lancelot actually is in love with Kristen, and they try to get together, but they end up not because she has a baby with Robert Pattinson.
I've not seen or read Twilight.
Oops.
From what I can tell, that character, the wolf, y'all help me out, what's his name?
Jacob.
Okay, the wolf seems to have the animalistic qualities that Lancelot was written with many hundreds of years ago. So I think there's a lot more meat to that than just, oh, I think you got a great idea. That could probably be developed into a really strong paper. So excellent job, excellent.
Okay, so if there was a movie made for Don Quixote, for the main character I'd have Bill Murray. Basically because he can act like an idiot sometimes. He's funny. But in his later career, he's very dramatic. For the horse, Rocinante, I'd Bullseye from Toy Story 2, Toy Story 3. Basically, because they're both horses. And then to play Sancho Panza, I had Danny DeVito. Basically, because they're alike in stature and funny and loyal. That's for the three main characters.
So my project
did was I did a little series of pictures that represents Don Quixote. The cloud thingy is Don Quixote, and he's going to fight this dragon. But the dragon is actually a clock, which is based off a clock in my house. And when he fights the clock hits him, and then he like faints. And then the end says, "Curse you humans," because the humans turn off the lights, so he doesn't see anything anymore. And it represents imagination and how he's fighting against time, because I always get like lost in thought. So that's a parallel to that as well.
Let me trace this. So the clock is a dragon, but it's metaphoric for him fighting the lost time in his imagination. That's very sharp. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Look forward to the question.
Alright, so I did a coat of arms for Don Quixote, and I'm not a really good drawer, but that's it. I had the windmill on there because that's probably one of the most famous scenes from his book, and I feel like what he wanted in the book was fame, so that kind of gave him that in like the real world, that scene. And then I had a suit of armor because he was a knight, and a book because he liked to read, and that's what kind of sparked the entire story, him reading books about knights. And then that's supposed to be for a stone because every book has to have an antagonist, so I figured that would be important to have on there.
Okay, so I did like a little like painting thing, and this right here is like, have you seen Pablo Picasso's picture of like Don Quixote? Well, this is like, I did like a little drawing of it, sort of. Okay, and then I just drew like his little spear thing. You probably can't see that, but it's kind of like what I imagined his sword to look like. And then I just drew like the windmills, and then I wrote his horse's name, a book burning, this burning, because it's kind of like, by the end, his little identity, or he thought he was a knight, was just kind of over. And then I did like a shield just to represent how he wanted to be a knight.
So that fire in the corner is basically that portrait going up in flames
Yeah.
of his own imagination.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Alright, that's it.
So this blank piece of paper represents Don Quixote's mind. And this story is basically it's the story of Don Quixote as told in the story of Batman, if you've seen the first Batman movie, like Batman Begins. So it includes him. I'm just going to read this first passage. You know how Don Quixote went through the different steps to becoming a knight, where he got a helmet and armor, and so I'll just read this part. He decided that he would become a masked vigilante in an effort to stop the crime that had killed his parents. First, he created a suit capable of providing all needs he may have in fighting crime. Next, he provided himself with a vehicle worthy of the greatest superhero of all time. He dubbed this vehicle the Batmobile. He then realized that he needed a name. He thought long and hard, finally deciding on Batman, referencing his childhood fear of bats. Finally, he confided in his butler, Alfred, of his new quest in life. So the story includes him trying to fight criminals in broad daylight. He gets his sidekick, Robin, which is a reference to Sancho. He fights a microwave emitter. And Ra's al Ghul, who is the antagonist of the first movie, is basically for stone. So yeah, and then at the end of the day, it's not Batman who's the real hero, it's the police commissioner.
Police commissioner.
So yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
So I rewrote the lyrics to Right Hand by Drake about Don Quixote, and it's like dedicated to his squire. Do I have to?
You can read the lyrics.
I can read it? Okay.
That's fine. For me.
You're my squire, you're my go-to. You left your family to travel on an old mule. Foes see that we're out here, and it's us they've got to go through. Just know that there's an island in this deal for you, and you can be in charge. But I swear you gotta chill. You saw a windmill, but I saw a giant. Wait, must have been the guy I hit. He'll have a lot on his plate, cause he wants to fight it out. Picking battles with myself, me and nobody else. And I'm thinking, oh, well, I'm thinking screw it, oh, well. When I win, you can ring the bell, cause you're my squire. You're my go-to. You left your family to travel on an old mule. Foes see that we're out here, and it says we gotta go through. Yeah, whatever. And then, okay, I know you're working with Quixote. I know you want to have an island. You and all your family, the ones you left to be around me, because they ain't nothing like me, man. Did they bring you an adventure? Would they ever fight for you? Because you know I did a lot for you. But let's talk about my family. They think my past is behind me like the Taylor Rocinante. Thank God that's finished, because now it's back to business anymore. Reading in your past. They told me about the wisdom, how he had to take it. I swear if I ever see him, he's going to get it. You're all right. You're Squire. Yeah. You're my go-to. And then Drake. So.
Ready? You'll be there. Hang on, you're right.
Okay, so I did a do's and don'ts list of being a knight, and the do's are things from Thomas Malory and Chivalric Tales, and the don'ts are from Don Quixote.
Oh, that's awesome.
And one of the do's says, do get knighted by a king. The don't that goes with it is don't get knighted by an innkeeper. It says, do have a helmet fashioned out of metal. Don't have a helmet fashioned out of cardboard. Do have a proper weapon. Don't have a handmade lance. And do fight a noble opponent, and don't fight a windmill.
Don't fight windmills, I've said. That is fantastic.
This is my rough draft of a story that I wrote about the day Don Quixote met Lancelot, Arthur, and Guinevere. And I forgot I need to email you the final.
That's what you got.
I guess I'll read my favorite part that I have. Don Quixote has raided Lancelot's camp, has took everything from him, and is at a castle. So that's back here. Okay. Don Quixote rode on until he found a castle. Don Quixote started to water. He was done being a knight. He wanted to be king. Don Quixote rode up to a homeless man sitting outside the castle. Don Quixote believed the man was the current king. "Stand, O sir, I wish to take your kingdom," said Don Quixote. "What?" the man replied. "If we must battle, then so be it, king." The man looked at Don Quixote in confusion as Don Quixote missed and hit the ground. As he fell off his horse, Don Quixote then stood up and stabbed the ground several times. "At last, the king is dead, and I have won the kingdom," shouted Don Quixote. He remounted his horse backwards and rode into the castle with his sword in the air and a hand on his hip.
I look forward to reading the rest.
Okay, so I painted a painting and I did a sword and a shield, and I wrote chivalry on the bottom, and all this represents like how he wanted to be a knight, and then the little words that I wrote represent like what it means to like part of the codes of chivalry, like loyalty, valor, honor, fair play, and nobility. And
The colors you chose for the shield.
purple. Purple I was thinking kind of because knights aren't royalty, but they kind of go with the whole royal part, and then everything else was just because.
You got a heck of a coincidence because the cross represents obviously Christianity and Jesus Christ, but white background is purity. So if you're looking at it from a King Arthur knight, the Knight of the Round Table, you're about spot on. So I would call that on purpose and smile confidently.
Yeah.
Excellent job. Thank you. Water.
Okay, first, I was looking for colored pencils, but I couldn't find any, and I found pastels, and I found out they're just kind of like glorified crayons, so, here you go. So this is supposed to be a teardrop, and this is a crown, and this is a heart, and it's from, John Steinbeck's story, when Guinevere and Lancelot, they did their thing, and then, Lancelot walked away sobbing.
So that's the moment.
And the crown's like King Arthur because it's his best friend, so he's crying because he hurt his best friend.
Thank you very much.
So I did a poem, and the Knights of the Round Table that once were are no more, courageous and obedient to the code of the chivalry, a code so strict, so honorable, yet so foolish. Such bright, intelligent young knights, only to be later shown their way of life, is not only simple but foolish. Blindly led to aimless adventure that seems childish, yet the knights were ruthless. Seeming to be child's play, yet proven to be merciless. A code that was once a guidance of many young warriors, now a good laugh when followed. One must be mad to take the oath of a knight, yet at one time all envied the man in shimmering armor, regarding him as a hero, now regarded as an old fool off his head, once so honorable, now so foolish.
So my piece is an interpretation of Don Quixote, but it also has pieces of Arthurian literature in it. And so all of this, like they're bookends, like stacked up together, and each of them has the title of a book or a tale from Arthurian times. And then the sunset is just kind of a background, but it also represents how with every like new day, Don Quixote would get up and go on an adventure, and he would start that with the sunset, or sunrise. And then the sword in the rock is kind of self-explanatory, just kind of reiterating the fact that Don Quixote was a parody. And then the windmills, or the giants, that's like, those are his obstacles kind of, like mentally he wasn't really all there, and so those are his obstacles and what he had to overcome.
Okay, so what I did was I took like 5 of the main characters from Morte de Arthur, and I chose like modern day jobs, like if they were alive today, like what job they would have. So for like, King Arthur, I chose a pastor because King Arthur can be depicted as like kind of a Christian hero who's among God's elect. You know, he was chosen by God to be the next king, and he followed the chivalric code. And so like for Christians, like maybe pastors were chosen by God, you know, to be in the church and to have that authority, and they kind of follow the commandments of the Bible, kind of like knights follow the chivalric code. And Queen Guinevere is a principal because she's a good politician and makes decisions with her country's best interests at heart. And instead of being a teacher, she has like kind of more authority, like by being the principal, and she kind of rewards knights who does well and like chastises those who don't, which like principals can do that to kids, I guess. And Sir Lancelot is a firefighter because he's adventurous, strong, and brave in battles, and like he's always there to rescue people when they're in need. And firefighters, they're brave to go into a house that's on fire and they rescue people. And, yeah.
So I did a playlist for, you know, Le Morte de Arthur, and one of my songs was Gotta Go My Own Way from High School Musical. Because I feel like if Guinevere and Lancelot had, you know, the scene that I thought they should have had when, you know, Guinevere decided to go to the nunnery, they would have had a song like this one to really show the breakup. Then after I heard Poison and Wine, I thought that would be a good song for Arthur and Guinevere's relationship, and that they don't really seem to be in sync with each other, always, you know, they don't love each other, but they always will, in a way. And then I chose the battle from Narnia for just all of the, you know, fight scenes and just, you know, the majesticness of them. So, yeah.
All right, for my project, I did a playlist. And okay, so for Sir Lancelot, I did Moves Like Jagger by Maroon 5.
Please explain.
I chose this song because the song talks about charm, which I relate to him and Queen Guinevere. Also, when I think of moves, I also think of like fighting moves, and since he was the best fighter, I think of that.
I like that.
Okay, for Don Quixote, I did Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne. This song fits perfectly because, well, I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory. All right, and for my last one, this is my favorite one. I did No Worries by Lil Wayne for Dulcinea del Toboso.
For what now?
For Dulcinea del Toboso.
Can you explain a little bit more?
Yeah. I chose this song because Don Quixote never includes her. Like, so she doesn't have to worry about his insanity. She doesn't have to deal with it.
All right.
Okay, so my project, I like hand wrote / painted like pieces of the chivalric code that I thought applied to both stories. And so never attack an unarmed foe and protect the innocent. I kind of thought of when Sir Tarquin like kept fighting people that like were unequal to him, and then how Lancelot went and tried to like save all of the people. And then avoid torture. We kind of talked about kill quickly a lot, so I did that one. And then respecting women was obviously a huge one, because when Don Quixote saw the ladies of the night, he thought that they were princesses and all of that kind of thing. And then defend the weak and innocent, when Don Quixote tried, in his mind, to save the boy from being beaten. And then respect life. I really like that one because it's kind of just, I don't know, enjoy the life you have and like protect others and use life for other people to help other people and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Okay, so this is a visual of the stone. No, the sword in the stone. So Arthur pulled this out because he was destined to become king of England. I drew that.
What's on the hilt?
Yeah. On the hilt?
Or on the base of the sword?
Oh, it says, what was on, whatever. It says, whoso pulleth out this sword of this stone and anvil is rightwise king born of England.
Exactly what was correct.
Yeah. That's it.
Alright, here you go. This is from the final battle between Morte and King Arthur. It's only but 7 people died. King Arthur died at the end, where spent $20 on these knights.
Do you know which one's which, like which side is what?
Oh yeah, the black is Mordred and the silver is King Arthur.
I wrote a 7-page short story that takes place in a dream that Don Quixote has after he gets knocked out by a windmill. And Don Quixote gets sent back in time, or that's his dream, into Camelot. And so he thinks it's because of Feston. And then he goes on a quest, to go back into his time because he doesn't know it's a dream. And he has like a bunch of adventures with Merlin, Arthur, and Lancelot. And then at the end, there's a war between Feston, Mordred, Arthur, and Merlin, Don Quixote. And then Don Quixote dies, and he wakes up.
So basically, he's knocked unconscious. So in his mind, he's sent back to live with all these knights that he fantasizes about. That's awesome.
Okay, so like I also did the stone and the sword in the stone, and that's the phrase thing. And I think that's an important part of the tale because it determined the king of England, and because Arthur was made king, he could unite England, and that was important for a while. So yeah.
Excellent.